Hello, welcome to Learn with VKK. My name is V.Krithika Krishna and I am a certified IELTS coach. So this video lesson, especially for those who are planning to take IELTS or maybe who have already taken IELTS and are struggling with the reading section. So in this video lesson, I am going to explain to you a very important question type in which people find a lot of challenges. So let's get started. So indeed, true, false, not given, and yes, no, not given is a question type which is often considered really confusing. Some of you who have already taken the test must have practiced this question type. And those of you who are yet to appear and who are just exploring about what IELTS is, they must have encountered this question. And of course, they might have also found it confusing. So let me start with the basics. In fact, if we know a certain essential points, there would be a lot of clarity. And I guess that you'll be able to do this question with a lot of confidence. So what is that? What's something that is essential to know? I believe that it is very, very important that you check the instructions first. So let me get straight to the point. When you open any passage or a text which has a true, false, or a yes, no question, number one, check, is the instruction asking you to answer in true, false, or yes, no? Now, most of you may wonder that what difference does it make? Well, the people who are going to check your answers would only have an answer key and will just be tallying your answer. So please note that if the question asks you to mark answer in true or false, you cannot write a yes for a true or a false for a no. Because if you do that, you're not going to get any marks for it. So please ensure that you are not one of those who's ignoring the instructions and jumping to the question directly. Instructions are really important. Number two, after knowing how you need to write the answer, it's important what you need to answer. So it's important that you first understand what these instructions indicate. Primarily, we'll get statements from the passage or from the information that you have read, and you would be asked if the statement can be marked true, false, yes, no, not given. So what does it actually mean? If the statement that is given to you is completely in accordance to what the writer says in the passage, we call it a yes or a true. That means the meaning matches. So if the meaning matches 100%, we call it a true or a yes. However, when you read the passage, you find that the statement given to you as a question has something opposite. Possibly it is contradicting what the writer says. Then we mark a false or a no. So please have a note of it that if the statement matches what is given in the passage, then it is a true or a yes, as per the instruction, of course. And if it contradicts, then it is a false or a no. Perhaps you try to figure it out and you are unable to find such an information, or maybe the writer doesn't say anything about it. And that, my friend, is a not given statement. So we'll practice this with some examples. However, another essential or a series of essential tips that I would like to give you are as follows. Number one, when you take these questions, please do not read the whole passage first. This is something that I keep telling for every type of question. It is really not required that you read the entire passage first and understand the gist of the passage. That's actually not required. What you need to do instead, you need to directly jump to the questions. And when you go to the questions, you need to first check the instructions, as I mentioned before, and you need to figure out what is the meaning of the question. Now, important tip is that if you have a series of questions, their answers will be sequentially arranged. Please note, this is a very important tip. The answer to true, false, not given, or yes, no, not given, they are sequentially arranged. That means answers will be found in an order in the passage. And ensure that once you know this tactic, you're not wasting time in reading every bit of the information that is there in the passage. So understand the question, understand the elements that you need to look for, and then jump to the passage and figure out where the writer is talking about this particular idea or the piece of information. So please note, you need to check very carefully whether we have to write true, false, or yes, no. You cannot change your answer. I mean, true for a yes, false for a no. That's not possible. And you should keep it in mind that if there are 4, 5, or whatever number of questions you get, their answers will be arranged in an order that will give you an ease to find the answers in the passage. And it will give you a lot of convenience, and it is a time-saving tip. And do not forget to understand the meaning of the question. Just don't look at the words and just look for those words. If you keep these points in mind, I believe that it can give you a little help in finding the answers more accurately and with speed. So let us try to practice using these guidelines and find out how we can reach the answers in a given span of time and we get more accuracy. So let's take a passage as an example and try to follow the guidelines that I just discussed with you. So ideally, if we have a passage, it can be of 1.5 to 2 pages length. So I would like to first show to you this passage titled A Very Special Dog. It's about a dog. We'll get into the details later. And I can see that the passage covers about 2 pages. So this is one of the pages and this is the second page. So, and it is divided into several paragraphs. Now, like I said before, we are not going to read the passage first. What's important is that we look at the questions. And since this tutorial is about true, false, and yes, no, we are going to look at true, false, and yes, no questions. So let's have a look. Now, first thing, check the instructions. Never, never ignore that. Please make a note of it. We are not supposed to ignore the instruction. And here I can very vividly see it written that I need to mark my answer in true, false, not given. Let's have an understanding of true, false again. What we are going to read here, that is question number 1, 2, 3, 4, which are our statements. We have to figure out if that information matches what the writer says. See, if the statement agrees with the information, what is given in the passage and what is given here, they match. They tend to match, and they do not have any info which is possibly opposite. So this is true. And if the writer says something and the information says something else, that means that there is some kind of contradiction, a contradictory element can be observed, then it is a false, and I'm not able to figure it out. It's not there in the passage, then it is a not given. So now we know that we are going to answer in true, false. Again, I repeat, don't write yes, no for a true or for a false, okay? Now, let's look at the questions. So repeating, a recap is we've not gone to the passage directly. We have jumped to the questions and we have seen the instructions. We have kept it in mind that we have to answer in true, false only. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4, these questions will be arranged in an order that we know. But where do they begin? That we are not aware of. So it's right now important for us to look at the question and figure out what do we need to find. I'm looking at question number 1, which says methods of determining if a child has ADHD are now widely accepted. I'm reading all the 4 together. After about 5 minutes of a vigilance test, some subjects will notice some blips. Vigilance tests help improve concentration. If a few grams of drugs are well concealed, even the best dogs will miss them. The purpose of reading all the 4 in one go was just to catch some words or expressions which I can see here, which possibly would be noticed in the passage. Like I can see ADHD, I can see vigilance test, I can see concealed drugs, dog missing them, so on and so forth. You don't have to memorize them. Please remember, you don't have to memorize them. You're looking at it so that you can have an idea what you need to find out. Now let us focus on the first question, which says, methods of determining if a child has ADHD are now widely accepted. So we need to now figure out where this information is given. Maybe the writer talks about ADHD. We may or may not know what it is. Let's not get into the detail. Let's look for only the expression, the keywords which are there. So the writer talks something about this acronym which has been used, ADHD. We have to look for it. And we have to find that methods of determining if somebody has ADHD, is that widely accepted? That's all. So now to find this, I'm going back to the passage. Here we go. Now I go back to the passage. And when you look at the passage, your purpose of reading the passage, the objective of reading the passage should be to find where the information related to ADHD is. You may all take your own time in reading it, but if I see this, if I were you, I would definitely start reading from the first paragraph and just not skip every information and go only to ADHD. And sometimes you may have some questions beforehand and true false not given can come later. That can also be the case. Be it anything, right now I have true false not given. So what am I going to do? As I read the info, I need to find out the place where the writer talks about ADHD. So I have some info here. You can pause and you can also read it. I get some information here, a situation at an international airport. Then I get some information here about some luggage. You can pause and you can read it later. I get to know an information about a super sniffer dog, Florence. And as I read and I come to this paragraph, just notice this particular paragraph as we read. Now I can see something which is ADHD. I am trying to explain to you that you need to look for ADHD, but that doesn't mean that you miss every information. Just give a quick read. Okay, so you can read it by putting this video on pause, and you'll find that you reach the location where the writer talks about ADHD. You will not find anything about ADHD above that. So if I focus on the portion where ADHD is given, that's called my location, answer location. As a test taker, you need to first reach the location. Since that is the first question of the set, true, false, not given, I am reaching that answer first. Okay, so now I have to find, is this true, false, or not given? So going back to the question, it said that methods of determining if a child has ADHD are now widely accepted. Let's find out. So it says, Florence could help neurobiologists to understand both what they call attention processing, the brain mechanism that determine what a person pays attention to and for how long, and its flip side, problems such as AD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. That's the full form. Now we know what is ADHD. So far, I'm not getting anything about methods of determining. I get introduced to ADHD, so I need to find this out. Keep your brain in one direction. Don't let it wander. Don't let it get distracted. I read it further just to find if anything at all is given. As many as 3 to 5% children are thought to suffer from the condition, from this condition of ADHD in the US, where the incidence is highest. Do we still get to know whether determining, the methods of determining are widely accepted? Not yet. I read it further. Although diagnosis is often controversial, Notice whose diagnosis are they talking about? What is the writer talking about? The diagnosis of ADHD. So when you look at this word diagnosis, it is similar to methods of determining ADHD, right? It's similar to methods of determining ADHD, which is equal to diagnosis. But are the methods highly accepted? The writer says it is controversial. So what do you think? If something is controversial, is it really widely accepted? Think. In this case, well, no. If something is controversial, of course, it is not widely accepted. So if I go back to the question, methods of determining ADHD are now widely accepted. In this case, the answer will be a false. I would definitely like to say to those people who might have responded a no, the question here is true, false, not given. So you cannot write no. This will be a false. I hope you understand now how we are getting the answer. So we got now answer to question number 1. Since it is a sequentially arranged answer, I mean, it's a sequential question type. For 2, 3, and 4, I would like to give you a hint again. Now I got my answer number 1 here. So this entire information goes in vain when I'm looking for the subsequent question. Please note, whatever tip I am giving right now, this is pertaining to true, false, not given. Don't confuse it with other questions like headings or match the information. We're right now talking about only true, false, not given. So here is the answer to question number 1. This was the location. So we got 1 answer. Now I go to question number 2. If you're finding any challenge in understanding, please pause it, please play it again, read the statement again. I'm sure you'll be able to understand the techniques that I'm trying to give to you. Now I move to question number 2. Look at it carefully. After about 5 minutes of a vigilance test, some subjects will still notice some blips. For me here, significant word is a vigilance test. And I guess when we read the paragraph from the beginning to the location of ADHD, there was nothing with regard to vigilance test. So of course, I think this entire portion is useless for us. So what you should do, be a smart test taker. Don't waste your time in reading everything. Jump to the next paragraph and find where is vigilance test mentioned. So if we see here, there is some information about Australian custom using dogs, what kind of, how they were getting dogs, maybe from private breeders or from browns. We have some information on that. I would highly encourage everyone to pause and read. It's a tutorial, so I would like to take you to the answer location by giving you small hints how I'm reaching there. Then the subsequent paragraphs, I am just highlighting what I am reading. So I get some traits of the dog being discussed here. So ideally, possibly the answer is not here. I'm looking for vigilance test. Again, there are some traits being discussed. And now I get to how to assess the dog's ability to concentrate by marking them on a scale. And so far here, again, I can't see anything about vigilance test. So when you read, please find out. I can't see anything about vigilance test. I do see something about concentration, but I still need to figure out where is vigilance test. Our answer may be not given. We don't know, but we need to search. And I somehow found vigilance test written here. So let's try to know what the writer is saying. A person's ability to pay attention like a dog's depends on a number of overlapping cognitive behaviors, including memory and learning. The neurobiologist's attention processing. Attention in humans can be tested by asking subjects to spot colors on a screen while ignoring shapes, or to spot sounds while ignoring visual cues, or to take a vigilance test. Now we come to the keyword. What are we finding? Okay, the vigilance test is done, and after about 5 minutes of the vigilance test, 5 minutes have passed. Do people still notice blips? If they do, now the question is some. So we have to find, do some notice blips? So let's try to read. So it says, sitting a vigilance test is like being a military radar operator. Blips appear on a cluttered monitor infrequently and at irregular intervals. Rapid detection of all blips earn a high score. 5 minutes into the test, we are reaching the pace. 1 in 10 subjects will start to miss the majority of the blips, and 1 in 10 will still be able to spot nearly all of them, and rest will come somewhere in between. So it's kind of a statistics given that if there are 10 people, one may find, one may not find, one will be somewhere in between. So that means 5 minutes into the test, can there be people who can notice blips? Can there be those who do not notice blips? I think answer to each of them will be true. We'll give a head nod that yes, this can happen, because that's what the writer is saying. So 5 minutes into the test, can some notice blips? Can some not notice blips? Either way, the answer is correct. So in this condition, now you can see here, you got the first answer there. The second answer lies here. The second answer lies here, but it does not come before the first one, before the first true false not given. So this is my location. This is my location to this question. And going back to the question, if I go back to the question, after about 5 minutes of a vigilance test, some subjects will still notice some blips. True. Those of you who said yes, please note the question is true, false. So my answer will be true. So I hope with these two examples, now you can relate that what is true and what is false. If it matches, it is true. If it contradicts, like the first question, it's false. Let's look at question number 3 and question number 4. One hint is that since I got my second question here in this location, my third and the fourth should be somewhere in the closing of this particular passage. So I'm left with just 2 paragraphs. So this is your hint, everybody. You don't have to go, from scratch. You don't have to get back to the passage from the first paragraph. You should be a smart test taker. If it goes to the next question, I have remaining 2 paragraphs. Your location is crystal clear. Your searching time will end because you know there is a confined space. So let's figure out what is the next question. It says, vigilance tests help improve concentration. And if a few grams of drugs are well concealed, even the best dogs will miss them. Looking at that fact, if I see this, it says vigilance test can help improve concentration. There was something about concentration here, but the answer is not here because we are not discussing vigilance test there. So vigilance test comes in this particular area. And even if you read it closely, I don't think so you would get anything which possibly says it improves concentration. I would like to read even this portion. Vigilance tasks provide signals that are infrequent and unpredictable, which is exactly what is expected of the dogs when they are asked to notice just a few odor molecules, then to home in on the source. We still don't get anything which is pertaining to improving their concentration. Even if you see, if you read further, you get something which is talking about question number 4. It says, the dogs stay so focused that not even a postcard with 0.5 grams of heroin hidden in a bulging sack escapes detection. So we did read a question where it said that if you conceal the drugs well, the best dogs will miss them. And much before that, we had a question which talked about, will some miss the blips during the vigilance test, which we read in this particular paragraph. We read it here. Some will miss, some will not miss. And we get about concealing, hiding drugs in a sack of letters. So it is well concealed, of course. There's a bulging sack, and in that you have put a 0.5 gram heroin, which is like a few grams of drugs. Heroin, the name is given, of drugs. So I get the answer to question number 4 here. So where is 3? 3 is not given because we do not know whether vigilance test will improve concentration. Now, some of you might be thinking that it is vigilance test. Why doesn't it improve concentration? Because the writer does not mention that. As simple as that. You're not going to allow your knowledge, experience, all that getting mixed up and trying to answer the question. It always says, if you look at the instructions carefully, it says that you have to match it with the information given in the passage. Not what you know, not what you have experienced. You have to answer questions based on what you read. And as we read, we don't have any correlation of vigilance test and concentration. Hence, answer to question number 3 will be not given. And number 4, if you look at this particular portion again, that if the dogs stay so focused, that not even a postcard lined with 0.5 grams of heroin escape detection. It does not escape detection. So if it does not escape detection, I go to the 4th question again. A few grams of drug well concealed. Even the best dogs will miss them. The best dogs will not miss them. They will still find it. Hence, the answer will be false. I think you got it right. I'm sure you didn't answer no. It's a false. So this is how you're supposed to find the answer to questions which are true, false, not given. So this was false. I think, yes, this was true. This was not given. Yeah. And the last one was false again. If you notice, be it computer delivered or paper-based people, this is another tip. When you are responding to these questions, you can use all uppercase. I'm using block letters to write my answers. Paper-based people, don't do like this. I mean, writing all answers on your question paper, although you're free to write anything on the question paper. But the point is, when it comes to your answers, write it then and there on the answer sheet. And preferably all in uppercase. And for all the computer delivered test takers, type your answers preferably all in uppercase. So write your answer as per the instructions. If I make a change to no, yes, not given, yes, no, yes, not given, no, I'll just get 1 out of 4, right? So I repeat, we need to know what the instructions are. We need to know what the meaning of a true, yes, false, or no is, or not given is, that we've already discussed. We must remember that it is a sequentially arranged question type. So you will get your answers in an order. This will save a lot of time. And for not to read the passage, jump to the question, know the question, check the keywords, and find the location, knowing the fact that this is a sequential question type. I hope that with the guidelines that I have reviewed again for you, you must have understood how you need to be solving this particular question type. The 2 pages passage need not be read in one go. It will simply waste your time. So I believe the techniques did help you. And if you found this video lesson really useful, then don't forget to like the video and press the bell icon, subscribe to this channel. And if you have any questions or maybe any lesson that you want me to deliver to you, please do put it in the comment section. I would surely try to make a video lesson on it and help you with that. So I'll meet you later with another useful lesson. Till then, happy learning, everybody. Bye-bye.